Live. Hello, YouTube. Okay, cool. We're going to get started with today's meeting. So thank you to everyone for coming. This is the October 3rd spooky edition of the Node.js Community Committee meeting. So we're going to kick things off. The agenda for today is issue 537. And then we also have minutes in the Google Doc. So if attendees are willing to help out with minutes, that would be fantastic. Otherwise, we'll get started. Cool. So let's do initiative updates. It looks like we only have 3 or 4 people who are involved with initiatives. So any initiative updates today?
From the initiative mentorship, we didn't have our last meeting was postponed for tomorrow, but we don't have current stats on the mentorship program right now. And tomorrow I will not attend the meeting because I'm gonna move it. So I'll see with Ahmed or David about the minutes from tomorrow's meeting on mentorship program.
Sorry. Cool. I realized I couldn't hear anyone. So y'all good on your update? And everyone else could hear.
Okay. It's just about we didn't have a last meeting mentorship program, so we was postponed for tomorrow. Basically, I don't have a status report on mentorship program.
Cool. That was mentorship, you said? Awesome.
All right.
Cool. Perfect. Was there a question in there or was it a statement? Sorry, I just finally got audio. Y'all good? Cool. In that case, any other initiative updates? Joe, do you have an update from the board or from CPC stuff at all?
Well, the exciting news today that it was announced that NVM is the first project that is joining the OpenJS Foundation. Yay! So that's really exciting news. You know, one of the things that we've been really focused on with the Cross Project Council is the onboarding path, and you know, I think for NVM it's been fairly smooth, and I think that it's been a good experience, and yeah, it's exciting. I think that's an integral project to community. So it's a great first project to move things along, and it's a day to celebrate.
That's awesome. Cool. I was not expecting that, so that's great. That's fantastic. I'm really happy to hear that. It's a project I use a lot. So cool. I do have one thing I should share real quick. It's been a bit since
before you move on, is it board or CPC related or?
Mine?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, yeah, just to close out the CPC and board meeting section, nothing on the board, like the project board, we have an admin in terms of ongoing things. The board meeting was last Friday. But you know, there's nothing that's there wasn't a public section because some of the discussions went on quite long, but nothing to bring back to this particular meeting this time.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cool. So the other thing I wanted to share is just do a moderation update, just because I know I haven't done one in a bit. So I'm just going to run through that really quick. Let's go. Okay, so we received an empty report to report at Node.js from a Russian email address with a Russian email signature. There was a message. We responded to a message about an issue in the Node core repo. I can share the direct issue with ComCon members. We received an empty email to report at Node.js. Benjamin and Forrest responded to a thread regarding moderation in the moderation repo. Oh, I think I reported those ones already, but that's okay. There was only 3. We blocked an abusive user from the org. That's moderation PR 272. So if ComCom members can view that, we received a spam email to report in Node.js. We received a few reports regarding a specific individual, a specific team member, org member. There was also a report about another org member. We received a COC violation report for the OpenJS Summit. So these are from May 30th, those three. And I believe those have all been solved in the moderation repo at this point. We blocked a user for posting spam. That's moderation issue 279. We locked a spam issue from a banned user. So that issue is still open despite them having been banned already. And there was still additional context. We blocked a user for posting spam and off-topic comments. That's moderation issue 275. We blocked a user for posting messages that violate the COC about their gendered body parts. That's moderation issue 285. And we blocked a user for posting spam messages. That's moderation issue 283. Close locked and blanked out one of the issues in the TSC repo for being spam. And the posting user was blocked by a TSC member. Issue 287 for moderation details in the moderation repo. Deleted a trolling comment and blocked the user in which is logged in moderation issue 288. We got a random blank email to report at Node.js, and we received another spam email to report at Node.js. I will say that we very consistently get spam emails. So if that's something that we want to report, we totally can, and we can keep doing that. It also is a non-trivial number of things. So if that's something that there's strong feelings about one way or the other, if it's useful information to have or not, we can, I would suggest having a discussion in the admin repo about that. Any questions?
I'll add that around the recertification, there was an issue open to the TSC repo, pointing out that there's no more TSC members who are part of the moderation team. But in the end, the TSC wasn't concerned with that, basically expressed confidence and comfort that the moderation team was handling everything appropriately. So I think that was a good thing.
Additionally, we, through the recertification, I think 5 people opted to not recertify themselves, so they didn't kind of put themselves back up for it. So we are down to 5 people in the moderation team, and including, so basically the moderation team has gone through the correct process, so at least in Slack, and I want to make sure it's also in the actual Node.js team in the org. But those people have been removed from the Slack, in addition to having been removed from the moderation team. So yeah, we can, I believe all the steps have been followed there. So also wanted to give that update.
Tony, are you seeing any risk of not having enough folks there, or were folks that dropped similar to me not active enough anyway to really move the dial?
Yeah, I think it was mostly folks who expressed an interest and did a good job. And then, we don't particularly like that. All that stuff I just shared is from like April. So that's the amount of activity that team has, is like basically nothing. And when there is something, we all kind of work on it. But I don't think we need more. I don't think we need more than 5. I'd be maybe concerned if we get down to 4. But I would say 5 is the minimum for that. And then going up to, 10 could work, but I think it's like, it makes it kind of, I think it builds in a sense of, someone else will handle that, rather than those people being kind of a little bit more dedicated to that. So yeah, I think like 5 to 10, at least for the current state of things, that might change, but I think that's where we are right now. And I think we're fine. So.
Thank you.
Cool. Cool. Any other initiative updates? Chat. Oh, chat. Okay. Give me 1 second.
Sorry, I was getting some coffee, but we do have updates on a bootstrapping of the initiative. It's not yet. Python initiative. So should I go ahead now, or?
Yep.
All right. So yeah, I'm gonna actually copy and paste. I have some bullet points, so it's in the notes already. So basically, we didn't manage to have enough. Like it was me, Saulo, and Fabio, I believe, most of the time, and Abraham joined also a bit. We didn't get a very formal meeting time yet. But it seems an 11 a.m. Eastern time is a good sweet spot, at least between those of us who have managed to attend so far. We're really hitting a sense of void, everybody hitting that sense of void in their own way. It's like, people come and say we have some complexities in being able to collaborate. And then the very concrete thing that people want to, have answered is how can we help? But to get to that, there's a very, very huge gap in how we can actually understand what the problem is. So this void, people who want to overcome challenges can kind of feel that this void is tangible for them, but they don't necessarily know how to relay it. And for others who can, appreciate the challenges of the rest of us, they kind of also feel that there's a void, but it's not as tangible. And there's like a missing component of knowing what that is, knowing what the priorities would look like. Um, you know, um, so we looked very, very briefly at a survey that was done by like the Stack Overflow Insights, basically. I can share the screen and talk about this later on if we have time. But it basically shows that the amount of information we know is really percentage-wise, how many people belong to which group of um, you know um, they put it as disability status. I would say different status or unconventional status. Um, so I think for an initiative to actually help those it is meant to help equally, and not necessarily disability here. We can talk about language barrier being one. For this kind of thing to actually be representative of the goals that would make the impact needed, I think we have to actually do a survey that is um, targeted towards understanding what these challenges look like, um, how these challenges present, like a person can have more than one challenge together, and the rate of how they get in the way for those who actually don't necessarily have the label associated with it, by a professional, I hope. So we all are affected by attention deficit or overload, and some people are also affected by not being typical in their communication. So how the overload makes their message harder to hear is a compounded effect of these things. So phase zero would be a survey, and we would be kidding ourselves if we can say the initiative should look like this, and then let's start doing the survey. That doesn't really pan out. At least that was my opinion. But it's really, I believe, a shared conclusion that we came to in our discussions. The two more things about structure. So other than the slot being on Fridays, 11 Eastern, we are hoping, and I believe Abraham joined potentially for that role, but we are hoping to have a backing of a champion because we're really stumbling at best. And also, maybe we can contrast whether we should go with a project board or start a repo that, the repo can have its own project board there. All these details we can discuss later on. Thanks.
Cool.
I would like to add some things to Sala speaks. The point is we have so many little data about this that everything. For example, Sala researched on the survey from the Stack Overflow, and there is a data there that 30% at least of the people that applied on their survey has some kind of mental disability issue, for example. But the problem is that this survey this data does not have, for example, the impact on life, the struggle, the challenge that the people face itself. So it will be nice to have a more useful and reliable data so we can comprehend the extensive of this information. And why is that? The point is we are faced with different people, everyone, and we have a community that should be, how can I say, inclusive. And we need to understand not only about the aspect of the mind, but the aspect of the communication skills itself, how to relate to each other and other stuff. And there is some kind of we need to build and understand how this could impact not only on the community itself, but the people, to help them to feel, how can I say, accepted and making, how can I say, life easier. So as a practical example, for example, today we have on the most sites we have, for example, we have a button to language translation, but we don't have, it's not many sites that have, how can I say, buttons on the contrast to people that have some kind of difficulty to see some kind of color. For example, people that cannot see red, as an example. So this is a real life impact on the people that if they are on a website that there is some information on red, they will not, it will be invisible to them. This is a real example, and we don't have yet we are trying to do this on a solid ground using could you help me, Salah? I didn't remember. It's that you suggested.
Stack Overflow?
No, it's not Stack
Okay.
Overflow. The method that you suggested that we use. The scientific method. Do you remember? So we can.
We can't hear you, Salah. You're muted.
You're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, well, yeah, we talked about the importance of feedback, the importance of, we can propose ideas, but we should always be careful to have a good mechanism to get the right feedback we need to correct how our ideas are actually manifesting. So when we propose a method to improve, or to eliminate conflict, like the idea we talked about before, stepping away, having the mechanism for feedback in place, and the ability to take that and use it to, was that really the point, or?
It's about to have something not based on a wish, but based on facts and something that you can rely on.
Yeah, so it's escaping, the thoughts escaping me, though. Sorry. Yeah.
So basically, this is a general overview. Just to finish, it's a general overview, and it'll be nice to see what you guys think. And it will be good to have, as Salah speak before, champion, so we can follow the proper Node.js procedures on this matter.
Cool. So for the champion, unless a ComCom member that's in the meeting today would like to champion, is there a ComCom member who's willing and able to champion and spend time on that? Cool. In that case, let's have y'all create an issue at requesting a champion for the initiative. I would document what you're proposing the initiative be, and then estimate how much, like just put in a, one line estimate of how much time it might take, like, an hour a week or 2 hours a week or something, just so we can have context on that and help find a champion that can help you be effective. And, if we don't get a champion for that, I think that's less of a reflection on you and more of a reflection on our current process and how we do things. So if someone doesn't immediately pop up, don't fret. It's not something wrong with how you're doing things, or you're not misaligning with compound. But I do think that maybe that might end up being the case. So we can move on from there if that does end up happening.
Tony, can I since I recently spun down user feedback, and we transitioned sort of organic surveys to the cross-product council with Giuseppe, but I'm just wondering if there isn't an initial sort of discovery phase here where we just need to learn more about the problem, and wondering if that's something that we could add or propose, a few questions that go into the broader survey to get that broad reach across the organizations. I can speak on behalf of PayPal that that sort of insight and the positive impact that an initiative like this would have on the community and the awareness that it could bring would be something that we would be supportive of, and we have a lot of internal initiatives that align with that, and so gaining insight on that would be positive. But we'd need something like a foundation level survey, or something meaningful, more than there's a working group with a contingent of folks.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean that could also be one initial deliverable is if we can go ahead and do this. I don't know when the survey is happening. I guess the next one is starting soonish.
Right.
But
I share that assumption.
Yeah.
I guess I could have an answer for that. The point is that we really don't know. The point of the survey is at this point we don't know what we need, if it's a valid, right. For example, we don't know if it is a valid or not.
Yeah.
And we still don't know if we need initiative, or we can fill this void in already initiative. I believe that's the point.
Yeah, and I'm totally on board with that. And I think what Dan was suggesting, just because I know some of y'all might not have context, there's a annual survey that the foundation does. I think we're typically at around 2,000 respondents. We could be doing better in certain ways with it, for sure. But that survey has a relatively large base. It goes out to the entire now OpenJS Foundation mailing list, like marketing mailing list. And then, we're able to compile, it's like a lot of questions. And so, what Dan's asserting, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, is that we could quite likely include some of the questions that y'all would want to build into that survey. And then from there, that data could be used. And I think we could probably get that data, like they announce the survey results at Node.js Interactive every year, as far as I know. And then right. So it'll be a few months before the next survey goes out. But given that this is a specific direction that our group is asking for, I think we could hopefully work with the foundation to get the data that you're looking for and the answers to your questions a little bit before for our own internal use, not to like publicize yet, before the time that we would it would normally come out, like which would be basically in a year.
The challenge that might be is, I think I've seen what was going to be like the final version of that being reviewed a few weeks ago. So if we're going to ask
Yeah,
that,
it's going to be a bit of an accelerated timeline.
Yeah. So could I just weigh in quickly? So you know, thinking of the mechanism, the approach here, ideally it's like an elective addendum to the survey, because not everyone might be wanting to do that. But if we're really tight on time, then it wouldn't be even an addendum. It would actually be part of the survey, and it would be kind of like a feeler thing. Like, we plan to have a more detailed survey, but we need quick indicators now in very, very few questions. And with them, we build this sense of interest. Those who want to actually take part in a bigger survey or advertise for a bigger one to follow, a more detailed one, because the kind of questions you would want to get to formalize what is needed for the initiative would kind of require very careful and relatively lengthy or detailed, you know, series of questions, you know, conditional questions. So I think that would be hard to pull off in this survey. So we just aim at gateway questions. You know, if you answer those questions, you might be more interested in further surveys to be done in due time. And from there, we can also know enough on what we should prepare for that follow-up. Does that sound good?
Yes. The one thing I just want to make sure that's clear is the next iteration of that survey will probably be going out in like 5 months. And so that, like, I want to make sure that it's clear that that survey won't be coming out, like it won't be, we're getting the data immediately. It's going to be like a while before that actually goes out. So I just want to make sure that that's totally clear. But otherwise, yes, absolutely.
it might also just, I mean, I don't think it'd be worth waiting 5 months to put a question that says, "Are you interested in the survey?" If we have questions,
Well, a little bit more than that.
Put it out.
It's more than that, actually. Sorry, like by feeler, it's not like, "Are you interested in?" but rather answer a few questions that tell us a little bit about the challenges you may or may not have. And by having that part, note that we might be holding additional surveys, either in 5 months or at a different time frame, specific to that, and you can learn more by following this.
Can just I believe it's both correct, but it's just on the midterm, we just have to have first low-level questions just to feel the mood of the crowd, as sort of speaking. And if you have, how can I say, a good response from that, we in the survey will do a fully comprehensive data collection about this initiative. So I believe that to be, and I don't know if it's that this moment to discuss how to do everything on.
Yeah, I think we should probably try to document this a little bit more, just because it does seem like there's some like slight miscommunications and misalignments of understanding what this, like the plans around this. So I think documenting this a little bit more and documenting expectations of those working toward the initiative and those who are in ComCom would be helpful in achieving that. I think there's space for both, or well, for the entire kind of corpus of what's been discussed so far. And I think just getting everyone on the same page will be the most helpful thing we can do. I do want to time box this just because we're 35 minutes in and we've not gotten to the agenda items. But I do definitely want to thank y'all for the work on this and moving this forward and keeping it going. Cool. Yes, opening 2 separate issues. Cool. Okay, let's get into the agenda. So the agenda, first agenda item, required updates to ComCom Charter to reflect OpenJS Foundation. This is a PR I opened. This is basically a relatively large change to our charter. It removes significant amounts of context and certain things like our theoretical but not real at this point board seat, among other things. So yeah, also individual membership. Thank you to all those who have reviewed it. Dan, Joe, let me spell here, Ahmad, Waleed, Aguirre, Michael. Thank you for reviewing it. I really appreciate that. I've tried to address most of the comments. I still have a few to address that have come in over the last couple of days. I've been busy with work at TC39, so I've been unable to address them as rapidly as I would like to. But I think we're still not at quorum on approvals.
But I don't know that you need quorum, right? Do you? Is the
for a charter change? I thought you did. I thought you
Um,
needed actually majority, like simple majority.
I was gonna say, is that somewhere? Is that in the charter itself?
I don't think it is, no. But I think that's the path we've adopted in the past.
Okay. I'm just like, whenever we run into that issue, it's usually like, okay, nowhere does it actually require.
Yeah.
It requires lack of objections unless
Yeah.
there's specific things that were called out.
Yeah. So in that you're very right in that from my reading of the charter. So in that case, I think I will try to address that. I am going to. When is the next board meeting?
It's usually I think third Friday of every month. So it was last
Okay.
week. So it will be a few weeks away. I think the CPC needs to take a look at these, and then once the CPC, looks at it and says they're comfortable, I think they would then, just like we discussed before, because it used to be chartered by the board, would probably just FYI.
Yeah, because this is removing the charter from the board of the board, so we need to go down.
But on the TSC side, really, the discussion was around, well, no, the CPC made the discussion, and we just gave the FYI to the board because of that that transition.
Cool. So in that case, once I get those changes in, I will say on Friday, so tomorrow, I will get the changes in and then create an issue in the CPC repo requesting CPC review of it. And I will comment in the PR saying I requested CPC review now that changes have been addressed, or requested changes have been addressed, that because there's a lack of objection. That we can begin to proceed. So with that, I will try to get that done tomorrow. Theoretically, that I would assume 72 hours. I doubt it will be fully reviewed by Monday, but I imagine the week after, because Monday is the CPC meeting. The week after, actually, it's not anymore. I don't think.
Tuesdays.
Okay, so maybe it might be done next week, but the week after, it should by then hopefully have been reviewed successfully and approved. So cool. At least through that path. Also, in a separate PR, I will have to update individual membership directors because that is not a thing that exists anymore. So that's just in the README. Cool. Awesome. So that's that one. Any questions, thoughts, comments on that specific agenda item, charter? Cool. Node.js social media community collaboration, issue 444. So I went through and created the repo as we've discussed. I believe it's linked from the ComCom README now. I changed the name so it actually matched what I PR'd. Yeah, Node.js/social media delegates. There is a brief README in that. So went through and followed through on that. I need to follow up with Rachel to proceed. But once we talk, I think we should be ready to go. I might just do one last pass on the blog post to insert references to the repo, as we've discussed previously. But otherwise, we should be good to go.
Okay, so we'd expect the blog post in the next couple weeks or something.
Probably, yeah. Yeah. So we should be good there. Any questions, thoughts, comments on that one? Cool. And then this last agenda item is the request from Aguirre for the Node.js collection next steps. He has an open PR. I told him I'd review that. I did not get around to that. I will do that today. But I believe we're relatively good to go. This is, for reference, the PR is Node.js collection PR 37. So should be good to go soonish on that. I will definitely review today. Otherwise, it looks like that's our agenda. Does anyone have additional agenda items that they'd like to add or additional discussions that they'd like to have? Okay, then I think we'll probably end a little bit early today. Cool, I guess we'll end early. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thanks,
See you
dude.
later.
For the discussion. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Nice weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.